We've got flags and banners, and if you mind your manners, we might even get to standards and what they represent. So just take my voice's hand and we'll both try to understand how this vexilla logic podcast could be flagged for content. Flagged for content.
What's up, Vexheads, and welcome to episode 70 of Flagged for Content. It's the only podcast you can be 100% sure did not kill the Pope. The other ones? I don't know, just saying. It is also a Flags for Good podcast, and you can head on over to flagsforgood.com/flagged4content for like the number, and order some sweet flags from them. And when you do, you can use code, you guessed it, flagged4content at checkout, spelled the same way. The 4 is a number, you get it. And save yourself 10% as well as helping the show out. So not a whole lot to mention here up top. I was up in Indianapolis this last week, which is why this show is a little bit later getting out. I was helping out. Well, they didn't really need that much help, but like getting the Flags for Good store up and running. They've got a brick and mortar now on Virginia Ave in Indianapolis that is amazing. And if you are in the area, you should go and check it out. They have a lot of fun little, it's not your average flag store, I'll put it that way. Yeah, a bunch of fun stuff there. Anyway, not a whole lot to go into as far as admin or, whatever on this episode. I sat down with Adib Altallal from, well, I've seen him at a couple NAVAs now. He's going to be helping, run the next one. Well, the next one's in Seattle where he lives. And so, yeah, I thought I would sit down, have a chat with him on kind of what's going on in Seattle, what his deal with flags is, and the like. And the result is the episode you're about to hear. So I won't waste any more of your time on mindlessly talking without Adib. Let's go ahead and get on into that part. Folks, we've got another Vex All-Star on this week. You know him from his global travels and love of geography. You know him from the soccer pitch as a coach complaining to the flag-waving referees, and you know him as a lead organizer for the upcoming NAVA 59 conference is Adib Altallal.
Hey, Andy.
What's up, man?
Hey, everybody.
How's it going, man? How are things in Seattle right now?
Going well. Weather's been nice. Life is busy, but so is everybody else's. How have you been?
Yeah, right. Not bad. Trying to plan a honeymoon around the best places to get flags. Which is exactly what my wife wants. She's constantly dying to get new flags. No, we're good. But yeah, no. So in Seattle, I know we're gonna get more into it, but is it getting a little bit busy as far as like planning and stuff? Like,
Yeah, it's getting to that stage where we got to get stuff done, which we are. We've gotten some great milestones accomplished already in the planning stage, but it's starting to be that final countdown soon.
Yeah. And I don't know if you're on the same chain that I am. But I know like normally when we re-sign up for NAVA, they ask like a lot of things that you're interested in. And it can be none as well, to prospective members. But I think I had said that I was interested in kind of like member retention or something like that.
Mhm.
So like pretty soon here, I'm going to be reaching out to a lot of NAVA members and being like, hey, you should rejoin. Here's why. And there's so many reasons why, again, that we'll go into. But dude, I'm just super pumped for 59 in Seattle and everything that's going to come along with it.
Yeah, and the more people we get, the even better the event is.
Yeah, it always is like, yeah, I love to see like a big tent kind of organization as far as NAVA goes, like a little bit of everybody there. But yeah. All right. So that's enough of this. Sorry, Adib. I have got to get into, for the listeners and viewers, what's on the flagpole today. And they're not going to be surprised by the first part because we have, as always, some over and underrated flags. Adib's going to bless us with both his favorite flag and his intro flag to Vexillology. We will chat about what it's like to be on the NAVA planning committee, how to do flag tourism while traveling, and on the Patreon, if you're there, we're going to get into city flag displays. But first, Adib, before we get into any of that, I like to ask my guests, what's the flag that got you into flags?
So that takes some thinking, but
Yeah.
I believe going all the way back to soccer related, as you did in the intro. There's a lot of flags in soccer, and one of my very first intros to flag and that started the love for flags was the flag of Brazil, actually. Watching one of the World Cup finals back in the day and seeing that beautiful flag and seeing all these words that I couldn't read and deciding I want to draw that. I had one of those composition notebooks, turned it sideways and started coloring in it and drawing, and realized that looks cool. I should do that more often.
Yeah. So were you into football/soccer like before then? I imagine you were to a point if you were even watching.
Yeah, I think the watching part and the flag love part probably started around the same time. The playing part maybe a little before, but as you see with the Olympics too, not just with soccer, there's flags everywhere, and it's shown in a way that is more of they're proud of their flag, not this is the best flag. It's more of, look what flag we have.
Yeah, I mean, like when you're thinking of flags or like flags at sporting events specifically, I always think of like European football, like soccer, because a lot of the fans will go out of their way to make their own. Like they will make their own flag that's maybe a variant of an existing design, but that has, county names, player names, numbers, things like that, little emblems, like what have you. When I think of flags at sporting events, I think of soccer. And I think, well, I was going to say more of international soccer, but even like Champions League stuff, which is most of what I watch if I'm watching non-international. But like, yeah, the amount of flags at these things is insane. And the amount of people on our Vexillology on Reddit being like, what the hell is this flag is correlates to that. So, yeah.
Yeah,
but so
absolutely. Yeah, it's a great environment to see, as you said, sometimes made up flags that become iconic enough where they get adopted by a club or they get adopted by a fan base. Even in Seattle, we see that at sporting events.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, we see actually a different variation of the Cascadia flag behind you combined with Sounders or different. I think Portland has a similar one too.
I bet. I mean, those are iconic colors to the region and everything. But yeah, no. So, okay. So I know we kind of skimmed over it, but so the Brazilian flag in general at World Cup 98, where was that one hosted? Was that in France? I know France
believe so.
won
I think that was
okay.
Yeah, I believe that was in France and they won against Brazil.
Right. But there was just something about the Brazilian flag that kind of like drew you in.
It was a generation of one of the best teams ever Brazil had, even though they ended up losing, but they had so much talent following the original Ronaldo and following all these players.
Right.
It was just beautiful to watch. So it was started as watching the game and then seeing all these flags, seeing the colors, their uniforms are those colors, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I talked to Frederic about in the episode that came before this one was like, yeah, soccer kits matching national flags or not, and how that's, good and bad depending. But yeah, one of the Brazilian things they definitely have going for them is the kits match the flag, like the home and away is really, because they can. And yeah, I guess like when I think of Brazil on an international stage, I usually do think of football. I'm not gonna lie, just because that's where the beautiful game originated, and everything. So yeah, I totally get that as an intro. Let's shift from that into your favorite. Then we'll do the over and unders. So what's your favorite flag?
So I'd say my favorite is somewhat actually similar in a way to Cascadia flag. It's the Lebanese flag, and
Oh yeah, I can see the
it's
similarities.
it's a simple one, not a lot of different colors, but I like the cedar. It's one of the only places that it grows, so it's a very unique, iconic uh, symbol that's on the flag. At the same time, it's very original to the area that you almost know. You could guess if you didn't know what flag, you could say it's that region probably.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, could you? Because like my only like question on that is a lot of the other flags in the area have pan-Arab colors, and I guess that one technically does too, aside from having any kind of black on it. Which I don't know if that's technically one of them or not, but I know you see it on a lot of them.
yeah.
But yeah, the Libyan flag it reminds me of kind of if the Canadian flag were, instead of vertical stripes, if it were horizontal stripes, and then instead of a maple leaf, it's a different, obviously in this case the tree.
Lebanese, not Libyan.
Lebanese.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, I'm
yeah.
so sorry that I said that. Yes,
I figured
Lebanese.
that's what you meant. Yeah.
No, yeah, I was picturing the correct flag and saying the wrong one. But yeah, like it is a very unique, I think it's a very unique design, especially even for that area. I agree with what you said. Like, it does hearken to that area, but it differentiates itself, which is, I don't know, which is I think a plus in its
And I
category.
think part of maybe why you accidentally said Libya, green is one of the very distinct pan-Arab colors that's missing from the Lebanese flags. And I don't, is the tree green? Maybe
Isn't
it is
it?
green. I'm having a hard time picturing it. Is it green or black?
I think it's green.
But I
But
guess
I don't
as a
think
tree, it's a natural green. It's not just an added stripe or background.
right.
It's a more natural fit.
Yeah. Instead of
Which,
a stripe or a chevron or something, it's a physical depiction. It's a charge, basically, for lack of a better word, that's set there in the middle. Yeah, no, for sure. All right, cool. We gone Brazil. We gone Lebanon / Libya. We talked a little bit about that. Let's go into, I usually let my guests pick over or underrated first. Go in whichever order you'd like.
I think I'll start with overrated.
All right.
I'm gonna say the British flag. I think
What?
I know it may be a little controversial. I think it has a lot of good flags, a lot of older flags within it, but it's just a collection of other flags that were juxtaposed and put together and have been so overused. You see it on all these British territories, you see it on even some of the independent that used to be British territories, or some that don't even have anything to do with Britain, like Hawaii.
Right. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
like chummy with the British East India Company or something, and that's why it's on there. I don't quote me on that, but it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So I think
yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I think mostly it's the overuse of it that it hasn't changed and it's not really original rather than a collective of great flags that were
Yeah.
combined and overused.
Yeah. It comes up a lot on this show as an overrated, as does the American flag. And I think in a lot of cases, it's because of what you just said. It's like the overuse of it, not just like where it flies, but like on other things. I guess more so in the British flag case than the American one. But like just the overuse kind of leads to an eye roll of sorts, like in like, okay, yeah, I get it. You used to be British, or okay, yes, I get it. Every other neighbor that I have is American. Sure. Great. Um, you know. Yeah, that one usually breaks down to me as an overuse. But like I think based on like going off what you said, it is based on good flags, but it's been kind of cobbled together a little bit. And even to cobble it together, they had to use a Northern Irish flag that is not necessarily like accepted in Northern Ireland. So even that's kind of like a, well, because we said so type thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. Like it's tough for me because I do think it's a good flag, but I also think like you think that it's overused. I do think it could do a better job incorporating the things it should actually incorporate. And I mean, for both those reasons, I would skew toward you and also call it overrated. Like, I don't know.
It's tough, yeah.
It's tough because, I mean, it's tough, especially if like for us in NAVA on the planning committee, everything else, like we're pretty far into it. It's tough to even pick an overrated or an underrated flag. Sometimes, like I know I sent this missive to you a few like a week or maybe even less ago, but yeah, it's tough to pick because we have to pick things like the British flag that are everywhere but also overrated, which I guess go hand in hand. I don't know. I'm talking myself into a corner here. Unless you have anything more on the UK flag, I'd love to go into your underrated.
I think the last comment I'll say is it's hard to pick an overrated flag that
Yes.
nobody knows. So it has to be
Yes.
popular enough to be possibly overrated. So it narrows the field a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. The underrated is always easier because it's like which one is not getting enough shine because nobody's talking about it. Whereas these ones everyone's talking about. But yeah, your overrated or your underrated rather is super interesting. I love this flag.
It's the flag of Kiribati, and it's kind of a busy, I guess. It's not necessarily what somebody might call perfect flag, but I love it. I I love how it seems iconic. It's a very tiny place, but the designer definitely went above and beyond. You have the beautiful waves. You don't just have a sun. You have a sunset or a sunrise. It feels like it's in action. Something's happening. There's, I think, a bird flying by or some kind of something's going on as well. So it's more of just a static piece of cloth. It's a dynamic, almost cinematic set piece.
Oh, dude, that is such a good way to put it. Like a flag in action and dynamic, like you just said. Like, yeah, because like we think of flags, especially in this day and age, as static things on like a screen or on your phone or what, um, and even to see the Kiribat's flag waving, like, is one very special. But when you start to think about it in those terms that you just laid out, like Yeah, it only serves to help. Like, it only helps the flag. Like, it is a bird flying. It is the waves waving. The sun, like you said, can be interpreted either way: sunset, sunrise, whatever. I'm sure they have an official way that they designate it, but like, to the viewer, you can view it either way. And yeah, I think there's definitely something to be said about a flag in motion like that. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, yeah. Colors are a plus, but it has a lot more than just the colors.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what's it got? Like 4 colors if you count white and yellow. Yeah.
Sounds right.
So I guess, yeah, like, I don't know. But yeah, there definitely is something to that kind of whole idea of a flag in motion. I do like that. All right, cool. Well, yeah, anything else on Kiribati or any of the previously mentioned?
Feel like the flag has gotten it on my list of places to want to visit one day. So good for them.
Right. Yes, and we're going to talk about that a lot more too, which leads me into an ad break. We are going to take a brief ad break here. We are going to come back more with Adib. We're going to talk a lot about NAVA and probably save the rest of that till part 3. So stick around. We'll be right back. All right, Backsheads, we are back. Part 2 with Adib Altallal. And we were going to figure out kind of a lot of NAVA stuff. Before we get too far into NAVA 59, I think a lot of like new / prospective members would be interested in your journey in NAVA in general, like when and how you signed up, and go from there.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. When I first started, I actually did not know NAVA as an organization existed.
Right.
I didn't know anybody that really liked flags, at least not to the level that I did. So I remember the very first time I found NAVA online, I was actually doing a trivia for work, and they
Okay.
needed like what's your one-liner? What's something you would brag, ideally in your area of expertise? I was like, that's something with flag lover, vexillologist. Like, oh, that's a
Yep.
good word. I don't know how to spell it. So I went to Google, put it in as I thought is spelled. Looked like I was missing an L and an I, but for the most part, it was good. But what's interesting, the very first result at the time, a few years ago, was NAVA. So
Mhm.
I open it and had the full name spelled out in the result as well. So I open that. Oh, that's an organization that exists, and start reading about it. Oh, there's other people. There's a board. There's a membership. They get send you a magazine, I
Right.
think monthly and a
Several. Yeah.
quarterly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's several publications, and that's just the printed parts that you get. And that was awesome. Oh, there's people that like almost exactly what I like, and they're publishing stuff on it.
Yeah. That's the most fascinating part, is like the and I'm sure like every, nerd in any like community, whether big or small, kind of has that moment or whatever, but oh, there are other people that like what I like moment is so huge. Um for us in vexillology especially, because I remember signing up for NAVA and being like, do I want to like bother? Like, do I care this much about flags? Like, do I really want to, read like the Raven and the Vexillums and everything they come? And I was like, yeah, I think I do, because I'm already somewhat interested. Why not figure out a little bit more about it? But yeah, it's always weird getting into a new organization, I guess. or association in this case. But you, I mean, like you've kind of, I won't say like risen through the ranks, but like you've made like a name for, like people know who Adib is at this point, and to the point where you're even like kind of helping to planning the Seattle one, right?
I'm one of the leads for the host committee and on the planning committee, but it all started with taking a chance. My first conference that I attended was the COVID one, and it was virtual.
Oh, yeah, I
So
didn't go to that one.
I remember sitting, taking break from work. I think I took uh, half a Friday off or something
Yeah,
and
yeah,
sat in bed. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And started listening to some of the intros and lectures. Like, oh, this is cool stuff. Maybe some stuff aren't as interesting, but it's all related to one overarching interesting topic. That was my introduction. I loved it. Like I need to go next year. I have
right.
to. And I did. I knew nobody. I remember signing up for a dorm because I thought maybe I'll meet some people there. It was one of the
Yeah,
accommodations they provide.
yeah.
And I didn't get a hotel. I stayed in a school and rented a car to make it over there from the airport. And it was difficult, as with any whether conference or annual event, that you don't know anybody at. Meeting people, especially for an introvert like me, was not easy. And
Sure.
I got to meet one person, and then it's a small community, so that one person introduced me to two other people and just kind of grew.
Right. I was gonna say that tends to be how it goes at those meetings is like so was your first in-person one St. Augustine or
Yeah,
Philly? St. Augustine.
St.
Yeah.
Augustine, yeah.
That was I think that was the one like I had just signed up like a month before that. My now wife got me the like guest packet, like the one where if you can't actually go, we'll give you this stuff anyway. It's like I've got the pen and everything from it, uh, and the little flag and all that stuff, but didn't actually get to go. But okay, so that was your first one.
First in
Okay.
person, yeah.
First in person, like what are I mean, I know what my feelings were going into my first in person event were, but what do you like? What are you thinking? What are you feeling going into your first in person one? I think a lot of prospective members would like to know.
I was very nervous. I didn't know anybody again. So one of the first events, pre-bowl lecture, president's address, I think on Friday evening when you first arrive before the weekend kicks off. And I went there. I don't know anybody, but I guess there's free food, free drinks.
Yeah.
We'll find somebody while we're snacking. And slowly saw, oh, people came dressed in flag related wear. I didn't even think about that when I came to the first
Right.
conference.
Yeah, I
So
didn't think
it's,
of that at 57 either. I brought a little bit at 58 and I'm probably going to bring more to 59, but I know what you mean. Like, oh,
yeah,
everybody's like hard into this for sure. Like the youngs, the olds, like everybody. Yeah, no,
e-
it was
e-
fun. So all right. So that was 50 what? That was 56, I guess, in St. Augustine would have been.
yes. Gonna say
7,
yes.
58, 59. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What like I mean, pretty brief span of time, what got you to kind of, you know, planning co-planning NAVA 59 in Seattle?
Yeah, so the association is mostly based on volunteers. The membership is fairly cheap. I think it's pretty cheap that you can't really pay anybody based on that. So almost,
Yeah,
I think everybody, not almost everybody, is a volunteer. They're dedicating their own time.
it's true.
And I love being involved. I love seeing how it's done, seeing if I can help. And nobody does it perfectly the first time. And I've gone to so many conferences in my professional career that I've helped plan some of those conferences in the past. And I was luckily able to talk some of the people that are involved in the planning committee, and they're always happy to invite pretty much everybody. I think the public is allowed to attend,
Yeah.
but it's it's a teamwork. A lot of it, again, when you're volunteering, you can't do everything on your own because your time is limited. So it's who's delegating, who's doing what, who's doing it when, can you meet those deadlines? And then that it's not instant gratification, but that feeling, the rewarding feeling at the end when you've worked for several months to see things come together,
Yeah.
see people from across the country and international participants as well,
Yeah.
helping, volunteering, and then it comes together. It's great. Everybody's happy. You get all that positive feedback. It's very rewarding.
Yeah, I can guarantee you're gonna get like 10 times that when it's in Seattle, like and like there and everything, like, and you've helped so much to plan it and everything. Um, yeah, man, yeah. I mean, as a NAVA member, couldn't thank you enough. Even well, even slash especially as a fellow planner, like I said earlier, like I just have to kind of figure out the tech side. You have to do a lot more than that, part of which includes picking slash helping design the flag for the event, which for viewers I've got over my left shoulder here. Now this is, but I'll ask you actually, is this the current design for the NAVA 59 flag?
This is the current design. I don't think it will change,
Okay.
but it's fairly simple. I think most people could probably guess that is the Space Needle to represent the iconic skyline. It's
Yeah,
one
what
symbol
for
symbolizing the rest of it. Yeah.
for the listeners, do you want to go ahead and like describe it in, flag terms, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have right under that symbol, you have the big V going right through the entire flag, and that's a nod to vexillology. It's also a nod to the NAVA flag that has the V almost in the same location.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the top, you have the blue for the sky, but it's also for the Seattle flag that's mostly a similar blue.
Right.
And then the green is for the mountains, it's for the rainforest nearby, it's for the greenery that surrounds the Seattle area.
Yeah, and I figure like it's not the exact same shades, but it takes kind of cues from the Cascadia flag that viewers will see and listeners can look up. But basically, it's a horizontal tricolor that's dark green, white, dark-ish blue, and has a is that a it's not a pine tree, it's some kind
Pine?
of, I guess, is a
I
pine.
don't know.
It's a
I should
coniferous
know.
tree. Let's just put it at that.
There you go.
In
An
the middle of
evergreen.
it in black that kind of like goes through all three stripes. And yeah, this like kind of pays homage to that as far as the colors, and then has the iconic, like the one thing you think of when you think of Seattle other than Nirvana or something is, yeah, the Space Needle right here. It is the official flag, I guess, at this point of NAVA 59. If you follow us on Instagram, I am always playing this game called Fresh Flags. I have 2 extra of these to give away as prizes. I would love to get these out here. Would love to get these out to NAVA members or prospective NAVA members, anyone who wants to come, anyone who's just elated by the idea. Come and play Fresh Flags on our Instagram, and you could win one of these. Hell, I'll even sign it. I didn't design it, but I'll sign like the hoist part or something. Anyway. Yeah, so what can we as NAVA members, new and old, expect from the conference in Seattle? Like, what are we going to see there? What are we going to do there?
Yeah, we always have a tour, and that's one of the things in the planning committee that we've been working on. I think we've gotten that fairly confirmed. I think I can say that Mohai is going to be the Museum of History and Industry
Sweet.
is going to be on that list. It's going to be a pretty major tour, and it's going to be a special one. Nobody has ever been through that tour. So we're going to get the museum, which people go to, but we're also going to get to see a collection of flags that has been stowed away for a very long time.
Dude, and I'm so grateful you hooked that up. And so, like, that's one of the best things about joining NAVA to me. And I know this sounds like a friggin' ad. We're already flagged for content. I'll call it a fucking ad. But like, when I went to the one in Minnesota and we got to see that, like, 28th Virginia or whatever, like that regimental flag that Minnesota has held onto for so long, that like Jesse Ventura, when he was governor, was like, well, I'm not giving this back to you type thing. Bad impression. But like, it's so fascinating, the doors that are opened to you as a NAVA member. Again, not an ad. But just like, like, you're not going to just get to randomly go into the basement of the Minnesota Historical Society and see a flag that's been there for 170 years if you don't have doors that kind of open for you. And it sounds like we're going to get a similar-ish experience anyway in Seattle. Seeing things that are normally kind of out of the public eye, I guess is a good way to put it. Yeah, and I think as far as like NAVA membership, if you need me to say anything more, if you need Adib to say anything more, I don't know what else to tell you, really. Like, and yeah, as always, like you volunteered, I have volunteered to do the tech stuff. I imagine there are more volunteer slots open.
Absolutely. There's the planning committee again, it's all over the US, so we have a lot of people from US, Canada, even international. I know there's at least one or two from the UK.
Right, yeah.
So it's great. The smaller part of that planning committee is the local host committee. So it's people in the region around Seattle, and we always need more people. I'm one of the few out here. So it's always great. If anybody's interested, reach out to me or to Andy and let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's as I think I kind of mentioned in passing, well, not even so much in passing, but I am a member of that team as well. I am not as boots on the ground as Adib is, but I am trying to organize the tech and things as I've done for the last 2 years. 2 years ago, I had help from Tara Stark, which was fantastic. Last year, a little bit sea legs, but I think I got mostly everything on point, and I think this year is going to be great. But you don't even necessarily have to volunteer to join the video meetings for this, right? Like, yeah, I was going to say, because we've had some people in those video meetings that are not necessarily volunteers, but that kind of just want to see like the process.
Yep,
And that's
we've had people that are either new members, we've had people that are interested in having their city be a future host for the conference. So it's really a variety of people, or you can just sit there, listen, see what's going on, find out about where the host venue before everybody else does.
Right. That's the thing, is like, I don't want people to get like, like you said, like, I don't want people to get nervous about it. You can chime in as much as you want, like Adib said, or as little as you want. Again, like you said, you can just sit there and have your thing on mute the entire time, but kind of like soak everything in, and you'll get not just a good feel. I mean, you'll get the exact feel for how these things come together, which may help you if you're trying to put together a smaller Vex society. I know, like the Chesapeake Bay one, a few other ones, like, take cues from NAVA as far as how they run things, even though they have smaller or less membership. Yeah, it's just fascinating to. It's a cool organization because you don't have to be on any kind of board to see what the board does. And there's not a lot of orgs like that I know of.
Yeah, and that's a good segue to say there's also board meetings that are open to the public. I think they're monthly. I know there's a bunch of other events, whether it's flag lovers or something more specific for different committees that are all usually on the calendar on the website when people go, and there's typically a Zoom link on there. So there's no RSVP, there's no registration or commitment ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it's not just for NAVA members.
Yeah. And that's like I said, that sets it apart. Because a lot of organizations you can join in on certain things, but not everything. NAVA, it's friggin' everything. I mean, you can, like I said, join us while we're planning this shit. And you may even have some good ideas and make us be like, oh, hey, hell yeah, let's do that or whatever. Again, not an ad. All right. Well, I think it's probably time to go to second break here. When we come back, we are going to talk about,
Are you interested in the weird, the occult, or the anomalous?
How does a comedic and supernatural spin on history sound?
We're popping up here to tell you about our podcast, Supernatural Selection, a weekly dive into all things weird with professional amateurs.
We research and uncover fascinating things about our often spooky and strange history and share them with you a couple of hours at a time.
Like, did you know that in 1955, a farmhouse in Kentucky was besieged for a night by extraterrestrial goblins?
Or that the Mothman is still being cited to this very day?
And that the craziest thing published online very well may be Time Cube?
If you want more than deep dives into strange topics, we also have our Weekend Weird episodes.
All the weirdest and buck-wild news we can find on the web delivered hot to you.
Plus, as a bonus, we have a weekly dive into pop culture with our other show, The Distraction Hole.
Because, well, you shouldn't work all the time.
So, if you want to give the show a try, hit up supernatpod.rocks and add the show to your favorite podcatcher or stream right on site. 2 great shows, 1 feed.
Join us, won't you?
Or you'll be sorry.
Remember, that is supernatpod.rocks for an immature audience. Don't let your mom know we're doing this.
Okay, and we are back here, part 3, with Adib, and we are going to go into kind of what we set up top here. City flags, when and where to display them. I figured a good place to start would be kind of at the micro level, because when you consider country, state, in our case, city, that is the most micro level. So what's I don't know a good way to put it, but what's the simplest way? I guess that's a good way for a city to display their flag.
There's a lot of different ways that you see at local government. They get creative with it. But the other thing you see is a lot of local government municipalities don't really have a flag. So they really get to miss out on that part. What I've seen, some of the great ways, seen crosswalks. They get repainted, but they'll put a flag across it, especially in that little rectangle shape. It's perfect going across the street. Sometimes it's temporary, sometimes it's permanent, but it's a great way to give that exposure while also it's usually bright, it's usually different. People are looking at it, so it promotes that safety. When somebody's crossing, they're standing out. There's a lot going on in the street.
Literally,
I've seen it in bike lanes too for that same reason, especially near intersections.
Really?
To kind of make it pop out. Usually with a lot simpler flags, something
I,
like
I
Chicago or DC.
I was gonna ask because this wasn't like part of the plan, you know, whatever. But like, I guess the conversation is pretty free form. But yeah, I've never seen that as far as a city flag. But you're saying Chicago and DC, which both make sense to me. Anywhere else you've seen that?
I feel like I've seen it somewhere in New York.
I fail to think of
But
anywhere I've ever seen that.
yeah, I've
And
seen
I
it
mean, I
on.
believe you,
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
just nowhere
That
around me has a good enough flag to do that with.
exactly. That's the issue. We don't see enough good flags around, and a lot of them where I am, there's a lot of still the bed sheet with the city seal on it.
Yeah,
Like, how do you, I guess you color it, and that's what I've seen, the color,
right.
and you kind of space out the logo and simplify it and call that a run of flags. Um, one of the best places I've seen it, and probably one of the simplest, is at a traffic signal cabinet. A lot of those you usually see art, they just wrap it, they don't actually paint it, but it's a good way to put a flag.
Hold for 1 second. Traffic
Yeah.
signal cabinet? What does that mean?
So at a traffic light, you have the red lights, and all of those have electricals and cameras.
Sure.
All of that goes into this big metal box that's usually on one corner of the street, and that's that signal cabinet that has the motherboard of the camera and the
Right.
wires in there. Yeah,
I'm glad I'm pretending not to know this for the listeners and
of
viewers,
course.
so
Yeah.
that I'm the useful idiot in this case. But I totally knew what that was. But yeah, so like you're saying, you see them up in cities with good flags, like you see them kind of like not just on those, but like as like stickers around.
It's full wrap. I've seen it where
Oh,
it's
whoa.
the
Oh,
whole metal, because it's a metal exterior for
right. I
protection,
can picture it
and
now. Yeah, another one now.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I see more art than flags on those pieces
Sure.
typically,
Yeah.
but that's a great way that cities could take advantage to really push forward and expose more exposure for their flag in general. Because that's all it takes. People
Right.
know about it, and then they either love it or want to change it, but at least you're getting input.
But they're informed about it.
Yeah.
Like either way. Like, yeah, like I was part of the group that kind of like helped at least push for a new design in Boca Raton, Florida. And it ended up like a lot of these end up where the people there were just not interested in changing the flag, but they had, like you said, a renewed interest in their current flag. Like no one had been thinking about it until they started trying to change it. And then they were like, no, we love this flag. We carry it everywhere. What do you mean wrinkles? No wrinkles on that. Shit's ironed. Like, and take it. Yeah, it's like it's that classic nobody cares about flags until they do, or nobody cares about X until they do, basically. But flags in our case. But yeah, can you like? I'm just curious. I assume you don't mean Seattle because their flag is not that great. But can you pinpoint a couple of cities that like you've seen this in?
I don't think Seattle's flag is that bad. It could definitely
Okay,
get
all
better.
right. You're right.
I've definitely seen it in Chicago. I've seen it some of the rural, not so good flags. I've still seen it up on a water tower, a big old metal. Like, they usually have welcome to and then city or village name, but then a lot of them have started to, at the very least, at the seal or the full flag. And I love seeing that. I even see it in Eastern Washington.
That's honestly the water tower point is a really good point because we talk a lot about how flags are not meant to be seen in 2 dimensions, like as a thing on a phone or your computer or whatever. A water tower, you know, for what it is, it's still painted on there in 2 dimensions. But I don't know, like your opinion on this. I think that's still, I don't know. I think that kind of accomplishes the same goal, although it's in 2 dimensions, as having it in 3 and over like the city hall or whatever. Because it is such a high profile type thing, literally a high profile type thing. In smaller towns, the water tower is the tallest thing that you have. So to paint the flag on there, obviously, especially if it's a good one, can only be good, I think. Like, I don't know. Like, I think that's one of the few cases where it being 2D is maybe almost even better than it being 3D. Like, I don't know. What do you think on that?
I see what you're saying, because you could compare it to sticking a tiny pole on top of it, almost like an antenna, and then putting a flag there.
You'd have to put a huge
Is
flag
that
or yeah.
exactly? Is that better? How long is it going to last, being that high and how windy it is up there? Or you're using that much bigger surface that you're not using for anything else. And you're putting a giant piece. It's also using the curvature of the structure. So yeah, it's 2D, but there are shadows to
yeah.
it. There's elements.
The curvature helps, I think. And just just like I said, like the high profile in every sense, I think helps. But are there any other like as we go through like city flag displays, like what are some other interesting ones you've seen, whether good or bad?
I've seen it mostly also another place. I work in infrastructure,
Sure.
utilities, water, sewer. So I see it, a sewer access hole. You have the metal lid on top of it.
Oh.
It's usually metal, so it's engraved
Sure.
into the mold.
Yeah.
But you'll at least see the seal. And we have, where I work, we have the seal that's from, I think, 15 years ago or so, but that was the 100th anniversary of being a city. So that kind of went hand in hand with, hey, let's put the seal on here and say it's this centennial anniversary.
Right.
And it's an interesting use, because the flag, all it's missing is that blue background, which you can't really show on an iron metal piece. There's no coloring there.
That's tough.
Yeah.
You'd have to go pretty far out of your way, and then you'd come back in a week and it'd be worn down, and you'd be like, what did I even do this for?
Yep.
But yeah, I was gonna ask, like, so Seattle's flag, would you call that a seal on a bedsheet or not? Just your opinion.
That's a good question. The first guess, well, to a certain degree, yes, but I don't think it's the city seal. I think it's from the Goodwill Games. So with that in mind, and adding the face to it, I think those combined.
Yeah,
it's simplistic. I really like the coloring. I know some people don't like the color.
I agree. I do like the coloring. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Especially like for the city. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it could be a lot better. I don't know how I feel about the words. I've even heard people defend the words because it was such a unique event.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, people will defend. Oh, yeah. Well, people come out of the woodwork to defend flags when necessary. Or, well, not necessary. When they think it's necessary.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that is one of those, like, I mean, that's the reason I ask, is because it is kind of in between. It is a seal, but maybe not the seal. And it is on a mostly monochrome background, but not entirely. It's got, elements that come in and that are interesting. I just don't know if it gets far away enough from that kind of stigma, I guess, of being a flag on a bedsheet. I can only speak to my own experience, and my own experience is hosting a flag podcast where I had a guy come on that had designed a orca flag for Seattle. So that's my lived experience. But from that lived experience, and him talking about the polls and everything, even if it wasn't his orca that got selected, It seems like Seattleans? Seattleites?
Seattleites.
It seems like Seattleites are at least more than most folks ready for a flag change, or at least like open to a flag change. Maybe not ready, but open to it. Because like, not even Seattle, but I guess Washington State in general, if they were voting that much for the Orca, I don't know. It seems like a change needs to come, man. What do you?
For anybody who doesn't know what you're talking about, that one of the, I don't know if it was an official candidate, but that's a great flag. I love that Orca flag.
For the for the viewers, it'll be up on screen. For the listeners, it will absolutely be in the show notes, or you can go back and watch the episode with Bradley Lockhart. I think it's like around episode 20 something. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'm just always, as somebody who lives in a state with a good flag. Sorry, let me take a sip of this real quick.
Nice.
For listeners, it was a Tennessee flag mug. It's always interesting to me, just the conversations that take place, basically, in states that don't. But anyway, yeah, I think with that, we're probably good to round this out. Adib, where can people find you, follow you, all that good stuff?
Yeah, I'm always involved with NAVA, so that's a great way to find me there. I'm also a big fan of your podcast, Andy, so on Instagram. But it's a great way to find me there.
Appreciate that. You want to give the Instagram tag?
I'm one of the followers. I don't actually know it off the top of my head.
Okay, gotcha.
I think it has my name in it. That's all I know.
I would imagine they can find it from, searching this episode, basically. But all right, fantastic. As far as the show goes, you can find us anywhere with @signs. We are @flagged for content, for like the number, the digit. It's unfortunate, but that's how I had to do it. Or best case, you can go to our Linktree, which is just linktree.com/flagged for content, all spelled out. And that has literally everything and probably more than you'd ever need to know. So yeah, I think that's basically it for us, Adib. Going through my notebook right now. I don't know how to close this thing out, man. Could you give me a hand?
Yeah, I guess if people hated this episode, I don't think there's a need to report us because we've already been flagged for content.
Nailed it. All right, man. Thank you so much. We will go out on that. And some of you I'll see on the Patreon. Awesome. No, that was perfect.
That work on your end?
No, that was perfect. Yeah.
I don't have anything. Just raise those flags, not the walls.
Flag for Content is proud to be sponsored by Flags for Good. Go to flagsforgood.com for more information.